In this video, I'll be analyzing whether a 59-year-old with $800,000 in savings can retire now, and why the answer showed us some critical gaps that would have otherwise stifled this particular retirement plan. Through working with clients in this exact situation, we sometimes realize that $800,000 at 59 seems substantial on paper, but it often proves inadequate when it's confronted with healthcare costs, longevity requirements, and the harsh realities of early retirement funding. So let's talk about this in today's video. I'll walk you through a real-world analysis of what Dave and Patty experienced when they considered early retirement at 59 with $800,000, and I'll show you exactly what determined if their strategy works or fails. So let's get right into it. We're talking about Dave and his wife, Patty. Dave is 59 years old. He's worked in manufacturing management his entire career, steady job, great work ethic, good saver. And across his 401k and his IRAs and his brokerage account, he's built up about $800,000 in retirement savings. And that's a significant milestone accomplishment. And for Dave, that number, $800,000, it's always been the finish line. You know, when I hit that number, I'm done. And that's what he told Patty, and he told that to himself. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know that I often caution against using a single lump sum target as a measurement of retirement readiness, because that number doesn't tell you anything about your income stability, your longevity risk, your healthcare timing, or any other big plans that you might have those first few years of your post-employment journey. So Dave is starting to feel that, you know, he's hit that number, but it's not totally convincing him that $800,000 is really telling him that it's safe for him to retire at 59. He knows that if he retires right now, he's got 6 years to cover his healthcare before Medicare. His savings has to last 25 plus years. He and Patty, they want to maintain an $80,000 to $85,000 lifestyle. They don't want to downshift their lifestyle. And he's got zero clarity on how he's going to pull income in a way that really doesn't come and bite him later. So he's stuck in this strange place. You know, I met my goal, but did I set the wrong goal? And that's the tension that Dave and Patty are living in. They're excited, but they're anxious. They're prepared, but they're uncertain. And that's exactly why we decided to run the analysis to determine what it's actually going to take to have the retirement that he and Patty want. Because once you look at the moving parts, you start to see specific challenges that could quickly turn his dream of retirement into a regrettable decision. So let's break down the key problems that showed up in his plan and why they matter so much to anyone trying to retire before they're 65. You know, it's not that he doesn't have savings. It's not that he didn't plan ahead. It's that he can't translate $800,000 sitting in an account into confidence that he can retire today. Because again, retiring at 59 means no Medicare for 6 more years, no Social Security for 3, maybe even 8 more years, depending upon when they claim. And his investments, they have to carry that load from day one while still lasting 25 plus years. That's a long runway for the money to perform without any mistakes. So the challenge becomes, how do I know if this money can produce the right income at the right time for the rest of our lives? And that's where the uncertainty hits him the hardest. On paper, $800,000 feels like a lot. Emotionally, it feels like it should be safe. But when he starts thinking about it, health insurance premiums, drawdowns during a market correction, inflation over 3 decades, how to avoid running out at 80 or 85 or 90, suddenly that $800,000 starts, feeling a little bit different. It stops feeling like a finish line, and it starts feeling like a guessing game. Like Dave really doesn't want to gamble his future on hope. He wants clarity. He wants to know whether retiring now at 59 is financially viable or is it dangerously premature? And that's the exact question that we set out to answer. Now, if you're listening to Dave's story and you're thinking, hey, that sounds a lot like us. You've saved well. You're not quite sure when you can safely pull the trigger on retirement, then don't just guess with your future. Click the link below. Watch a free training that my team and I put together. We'll walk you through how we optimize your retirement timing, how to bridge healthcare costs before 65, and how to structure income so you stay confident and protected all throughout retirement. And while you're there, you can also download my Modern Guardrails Guide to Smart Retirement Spending. It's a simple, practical guide that shows you how to set some spending guardrails that keep you on track without constantly second guessing whether you're spending too much or maybe you're enjoying retirement not enough and you could be spending some more. So go ahead and grab those resources. They'll really help you to start to understand exactly where you stand. So let's get back to Dave and Patty. And I should also mention that what really hit home for Dave was that he's still in that demanding manufacturing job. You know, the long hours, the stress, the feeling that he's already given his career everything he has, and he wants out. He wants mornings on the pickleball court instead of mornings in meetings. And every day that he stays, he's asking himself, am I wasting time that I can't get back? But at the same time, he can't bring himself to walk away, because when you have a large amount of money saved, but no clarity on whether that's actually going to carry you all the way through your 80s or 90s, that's scary. The thought of retiring too early, burning through that money too fast, and then maybe being forced back to work in your late 60s, well, that's a risk that he can't emotionally take. So he was stuck. So he's trapped between two fears, the fear of retiring too early and running out of money, and the fear of working too long and missing the best years of his life. And I know a lot of you can relate to this because we hear it from you all the time. And that's why he reached out. He doesn't want to guess. He wants to know whether retiring at 59 is truly possible or if he needs a few more years in the saddle. And that's exactly what we set out to solve. Because the real answer isn't found by staring at an account balance. It's found by asking the right questions about what that balance needs to do for you. So we ran a few projections, we took a step back, and we asked Dave and Patty a few critical questions that reveal the pressure points in any early retirement plan. Because here's something that I tell people all the time. It's not always about how much you have saved. It's about what the money needs to do for you. So we started asking questions like, what are your real monthly expenses? Not that number that's like, we think we need around this number type of budget, but the actual spending need that we need to maintain that lifestyle. And if $800,000 can't safely produce that income, well, then can the lifestyle adjust without feeling like it's a downgrade, right? So can it do it? If not, lifestyle is going to have to adjust. How much will that healthcare cost before Medicare? 6 full years of private insurance is expensive. So can we bridge that Medicare gap without draining the portfolio too fast? Or would healthcare alone cause the plan to crack early? What level of income can this portfolio support without crossing the danger zone? In other words, where are the guardrails? How much can Dave withdraw each year and still remain on track through a 20, 25-year retirement, even if the markets get bumpy? And at what point would withdrawals push the portfolio into high-risk territory where the chances of running out of money start rising fast? Are there any other income sources to relieve pressure? Rental property, part-time consulting, even a small pension. Anything that reduces reliance on the portfolio in those early years really helps the portfolio to breathe. How is the money invested? Is it positioned to grow long-term, or is it too conservative to keep up? Which leads to one more critical question many people overlook. What happens if the market makes a major drop early in retirement? Because you want to be emotionally and practically prepared. Those questions are how you turn a lump sum into a real retirement decision. And once we answered them for Dave and Patty, the picture became very clear very quickly. Retiring at 59 with $800,000 wasn't impossible, but the math told us it wasn't going to give them the life that they were imagining for themselves. So let's walk through how we actually figured that out. We didn't start with products. We didn't start with investments. We started with the life that they wanted. So step one, get honest about their lifestyle number. First, we nailed down their real spending, not the, I think I want to spend this much estimate, but a clear picture of what it actually costs to live the life that they want. And for Dave and Patty, that meant $80,000 to $85,000 per year type of lifestyle, travel, enjoying hobbies, helping the kids when needed, maintaining the home, living with comfort, not restriction. Really, that's the life that they were imagining. So that became the target. Step two is estimate their Social Security. What is it going to be in the future? We modeled it out, and based on their work history, delaying to around full retirement age would give them roughly $50,000 per year combined. So the core equation really became their lifestyle need was $80,000 to $85,000. Social Security was going to happen later, and it was going to be about $50,000, which leaves a $30,000 to $35,000 gap every year that has to come from their investments once Social Security begins. Step 3, ask the question, what can $800,000 safely support? So now we bring in some guardrails thinking. So in our distribution planning, we ultimately use a risk-based guardrail strategy. It's a system that adjusts retirement spending as the years go on, helping retirees to stay confident and also avoid overspending or underspending. But before we design those guardrails, we need a quick way to determine, is $800,000 even close enough to support the lifestyle that they're imagining? So we start with a simple tool, the 4% safe withdrawal rule, not the final answer, but as a litmus test. So 4% of $800,000 equals $32,000 per year. So you compare that to their need. Their required withdrawal is about $30,000 to $35,000. Their safe capacity, so to speak, is about $32,000. So on paper, that looks barely workable, but only under ideal conditions. So if your initial numbers are already a little thin on day one before healthcare inflation or market volatility are even accounted for, well, there's a strong signal that the portfolio may not be large enough to shoulder the retirement that they're picturing. And this is where clarity starts to come from. The math is tight, and tight math rarely creates confidence because watch what happens next. Step 4 is separate out the healthcare bridge. So don't forget, we need to tackle the healthcare gap. Retiring at 59 means 6 full years before Medicare, ACA premiums, deductibles, and out-of-pocket costs that add up fast, and the need to keep the taxable income low if they want meaningful subsidies. So even if they do everything right, there's still a real lump sum cost just to get them to age 65. And once you earmark that money for that 6-year bridge, the effective retirement portfolio supporting their long-term spending isn't truly $800,000 anymore. It's something less than that number. And this is another piece that tightens the math. So step 5, can their plan hold up when life isn't perfect? So the last thing that we looked at was how Dave and Patty's plan holds up when things don't go perfectly well early on in retirement, because no one retires into a straight line, right? Markets don't move smoothly. Expenses don't behave perfectly. Life happens. It shows up. So we asked one simple question. If retirement starts during a market downturn, does the plan still protect their essential lifestyle needs? And for Dave and Patty, the answer was no. Their $800,000 portfolio worked fine in the clean, optimistic scenarios, but once we introduced normal bumps, the kind that almost every retiree experiences, the plan lost its margin of safety. Not catastrophically, not overnight, but enough that their essential spending started to feel too close to the edge. They didn't want a retirement that only works when everything goes right. Like they wanted one that holds up when life is imperfect. And ultimately, that's what it told us. $800,000 wasn't enough at 59. So when we put it all together, when we combined their true lifestyle need, the $30,000 to $35,000 withdrawal requirement, the healthcare bridge cost, and really what $800,000 can safely support, the conclusion became clear. $800,000 wasn't enough to deliver the retirement that they were imagining at 59. Not because they saved poorly, not because they mismanaged their money, but because they were simply asking this portfolio to do too much, too early, for too long. And when we ran the numbers forward, the actual comfort zone for their lifestyle was closer to 1.2 to 1.4 million. So how do we land on 1.2 to 1.4 million? Well, we didn't start with the portfolio. We started with the lifestyle. So Dave and Patty wanted $80,000 to $85,000 per year in retirement. Social Security is projected to cover about $50,000, which means their investments still need to reliably produce $30,000 to $35,000 every year for the rest of their lives. So using a simple planning benchmark, that requires roughly $750,000 to $875,000 dedicated just to long-term income after Social Security and after Medicare. But remember, Dave wanted to retire at 59, not 65. So we had to fund 6 years of healthcare before Medicare as a separate cost, which has to cut away from that long-term portfolio. So then we wanted to also add some margin for comfort for normal market swings, inflation, and when life doesn't go so perfectly. So when you add all those things together, the conclusion was clear. $800,000, it was just too tight. $1.2 to $1.4 million was more along the lines of what would create stability for them. And that's why so many people hit their number and they still hesitate. The plan works in theory, but it doesn't feel reliable in the real world. Now that you've seen how $800,000 holds up for retirement at 59, it becomes clear that the number alone doesn't determine readiness. It's the relationship between your savings, your expenses, your healthcare costs, and the timeline that determines whether the plan truly works. And if you need more help with your retirement plan, click the link below to watch the free training that my team and I put together. We'll show you exactly how to optimize your plan for your given situation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.